25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Have you ever been out at night and you're looking up at the sky and you say, what is that? What is that? Mm-hmm. A lot of people say they've seen UFOs, right?
Yeah.
I can honestly tell you that I can't swear that I've ever seen a UFO. However, how many years ago was it, Robin? We went to a meeting for the All Children's Playground, and after the meeting, we were out driving back, and overhead, we did see something fly over, and it wasn't a pin light like a star. You know, it was not a shooting star. It was not an airplane. It was bluish green. It made no noise at all, no sound that we heard.
Yeah, it was scary.
But flew overhead as fast. I look out this window here and I look at these dragonflies, and I see how they can just hover and then go to the left, to the right, right? And they do it, you know, they can cover 6 feet like in a microsecond.
Yes.
But this thing did the exact same thing, but of course it was covering probably hundreds, if not thousands of miles doing that. So did I see a UFO? I don't know. I can't swear that I did. But it made me think the people who say they have and are sure that they have, I know maybe what they've seen, although I really have no clue. I am a sucker for radio shows and TV shows that deal with this topic. I just love this topic. And I don't know if I want to know the answer. I don't know if I want to be visited by aliens. You hear all these crazy stories. I don't know. Maybe we're the bad ones. Who knows? Steve Alten is on the phone. He's studied this longer and harder than I ever will. He's got a book. It's called Undisclosed, UFOs and Extraterrestrials. Let's find out about the book. Good morning, Steve. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Morning, Larry. Thank you for having me.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm in West Palm Beach.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
Absolutely, and it's an amazing story because I was actually scheduled to meet with the foremost authority on UFOs and extraterrestrials, Dr. Stephen M. Greer, who has provided the briefings for 2 sitting presidents, members of Congress, the CIA, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And 3 nights before, my wife and I were actually supposed to have dinner with he and his wife in Miami Beach. And this was on Saturday night, December 14th in 2013, at approximately 11:10 at night. My wife and I were coming home from dinner and a movie, and as we drove through our neighborhood in West Palm Beach, we noticed something bizarre moving toward us in the sky. These pale amber lights like nothing we'd ever seen before. They were about 8 to 12 of them. They were flying in staggered pairs, and they were approaching from the south about 1,000 feet off the ground. And they were smooth and silent, like you said. But as they passed over, just almost directly over us, we could see the outline of their saucer-shaped bottoms. And then they flew off into the northern sky and simply disappeared, not behind a cloud. They just, one by one, they disappeared into a higher dimension, into the ether.
Wow. You know, that we had a guest on the other day talking about how science has, there were some scientists and it wasn't America, I can't remember where it was, but they had successfully teleported a molecule or something into space. I can't. It was like a small thing. They teleported something. In other words, the idea of teleportation is not just science fiction, and it could explain some of the things that people say. Like they'll write it off. They say there's no way we could have UFOs because it would take 1,000 years just to get here, or 1,000 light years to get here. So I don't know. But I think there might be a possibility. You know what? In the promotional material that was sent to us, it says here that the story from Roswell that we're all familiar with, the crash of those UFOs happened as a result of a radar device that was being used by the military at that time. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, but let me take a step back first. Undisclosed is a novel of faction, I call it. It's fiction, but it's all based upon hundreds of testimonials that were provided to Dr. Greer from members of the defense contractors, the intelligence agencies, NASA, the FAA, and the military, and basically they pull back the curtain on 70 years of lies about UFOs and these secret black ops programs called USAPs. A USAP is an unacknowledged special access project that are so compartmentalized, even the people working on them, they don't know what they're about.
Why did you choose to make it as a novel?
Because I actually wrote a book. The deal that I worked out with Dr. Greer was that I would take he would give me access to these testimonials, and I would help write his book, which is called Unacknowledged, which is a historical account of these things based on the testimonials. And in exchange, I would be able to use them in a novel. And why a novel? Because in a novel, you can sort of feed the reader in digestible bites, sort of like a Trojan horse, and so the story's hero is sort of like the reader. They go through denial to disbelief to belief, and finally to outrage.
All right, so you put us in his shoes, in other words.
Exactly. Now, regarding Roswell, we had dozens of testimonies from people involved in Roswell, but the thing about Roswell is that was precipitated by things that happened during World War II, 2 years earlier. There were these American Air Force pilots and German pilots as well flying these bombers were coming in contact with these energy drones, which they called the Foo Fighters. Yeah, like the rock band. That's where the rock band comes
Right. Yeah, no, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what they were with these energy drones that would shadow the bombers, and they were transdimensional, so sometimes they would actually go through the bomber, which would freak out the crew. And President Roosevelt knew the Nazis were working on some type of man-made UFO, but he sent his General Doolittle over to Europe to check out these Foo Fighters.
Right. And
Doolittle reported back that they were interplanetary in nature. Now, why these species of extraterrestrials? Because there's more than one of them. There's several dozen of them, according to reports, came to Earth to make themselves known. Had to do more with the fact that we were testing we had learned how to split the atom. We were testing the atomic bomb, and of course, in '45, we launched one on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
So that sets up for Roswell, because why Roswell? Well, Roswell was an Army Air Force base that was the home of the 509th Bomber Squadron, which is the only wing in the world we equipped with atomic weapons. Now, Roswell was also armed with something called a scalar, or a longitudinal wave weapon. And a scalar is not limited to the speed of light. It actually travels at multiple speeds of light. So on June 24th and 47, there were UFOs buzzing the Roswell Air Force Base. And a few days later, Roswell hit them with the scalar weapon. And two of the UFOs collided, and another one went down.
So the scalar was a weapon, not just a tracking device.
Correct.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression that the scalar was somehow a tracking device that had an ill effect on the spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it scrambled their electromagnetic...
So I don't know if this is part of the story or not, but what is the thinking as to why? Like, why do the UFOs seem to be spotted in places where technology is being developed, especially military technology? Why does it always seem like that's where we see them and hear about them?
Well, that's absolutely true, but it has more to do with the nuclear weapons. They buzz these Army Air Force bases that have nuclear weapons stored.
Now, why do you think that is, though?
Because they're concerned. They are concerned we're going to kill ourselves with these weapons.
So they're looking out for us. They're looking out for our best interests.
Correct. I mean, if you look at the evidence over thousands of years, they've made themselves known with their cave paintings, their artwork done in the 14th century. I mean, they've been visiting us for a long time. They're invested in life on this planet, and they're concerned that we're at a precarious point in our history, because we're a Type 0 civilization. There's one Type 2 and Type 3, which is the most advanced, which is what they are. They're able to travel in higher dimensions, and communicate through thought energy. And we're a Type 0 civilization, meaning that we're at the point where technology, we know enough to kill ourselves.
Yeah. Wow, fascinating.
So do you think that because, Elon Musk and all of the other scientists, they always say that there could be life on Mars, or there used to be life on Mars and they were wiped out. Do you think this could be similar to that? Do you think there were people on Mars and they just wiped each other out, and the ETs just don't want the same thing to happen to Earth inhabitants?
Well, it could be. I actually wrote a book years ago when I first met Dr. Greer called Vostok, which deals with the subglacial lake in Antarctica, and there is an electromagnetic pulse coming from that lake 2.5 miles beneath the ice. This it's a liquid lake.
Oh.
And that theory comes into play a lot because yes, there was oceans on Mars, and there was probably life on Mars too. And how did he sort of leapfrog over to Earth?
All right, now I'm going to kind of bring something to the conversation that's going to make me sound like a nut, but I have to tell you this. I want to ask you something. All right, when I was a kid, like upper teens, a psychic told me my future. And then I said, well, how can you see my future? Because I was skeptical. And I'm not telling you he was good at it or bad at it. What I want to tell you is this. He said, well, I can see you as you could see a car going up one side of a hill and another car going up the other side of the hill, but neither one of those cars can see each other. And I can predict that they're going to crash, right? And you can give the information to one of those cars so that they don't crash. Now, using just that as an example for being able to foresee the future, and that's logical sense. That's how you can foresee the future. If you can see two things getting ready to happen and let one of them know, that could stop it. Is that what they are doing? Are they foreseeing the future without claiming to be traveling back through time or claiming anything that doesn't even seem to be logical? Is it just the fact that they can observe our behavior and know that we're going to crash into one another, so to speak?
I'd say that's very astute, and it has a lot to do with why these two books, Unacknowledged by Dr. Greer and Undisclosed by myself, were written, because some of the testimonials that were provided to us were provided by people who actually insisted that they pass away before the information was published, and that's why the two books came out when they did. And one of the major things that they were concerned about is a false flag event. A false flag event being perpetrated by a group, perhaps an entity of the government, that is made to look like somebody else is attacking us when it's actually us themselves. And the false flag event is a sort of an Independence Day, aliens versus humans event that is designed to put the defense contractors in charge. And this is so nefarious that, we decided that we had to expose it, and that was one of the reasons that these two books were written.
Wow.
To expose the false flag event. Because they actually have fake UFOs called ARVs, which are alien reproduction vehicles, that are being warehoused underground in these subterranean bases. I know this all sounds crazy, but you have to read. That's why I wrote it as fiction, because you have to take it sort of in bite-sized bits so that one domino falls into the next. To understand what is going on out there.
Yeah, but you had written in the press materials about Dr. Greer's book. It said that one of the extraterrestrial crew survived the crash, and that ET was kept alive for 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. That was back in '47.
Oh my gosh!
What were we communicating with him or her, or the ET?
Yes, they're most of them are. All the ones that were in these ships were male, but yeah, in fact, there were actually about, I believe, 13 UFOs that were brought down with a scalar weapon between 47 and 52. 13 extraterrestrial spacecraft. 11 of them were in New Mexico, one in Nevada and Arizona, and then there were some in Mexico and Norway. So they collected, according to the eyewitnesses, about 65 bodies, including the one ET that survived the first crash and was kept alive.
Wow. Let's take a phone call, and then we'll take a break, and we'll be back. But let's go to the phone first. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with Steve Alten.
Yeah, good morning. The novelist Whitley Strieber has written that he had been abducted by aliens. That was in his book Communion, and then he wrote a book later on called The Greys, in which he says, well, that was a novel, but he says that the Greys are walking among us and interacting with us and such like that. I just thought I'd bring that up and wonder if you had any thoughts on that.
All right.
Have a good morning.
Thank you. What do you? Yeah, I've heard of those two stars also. What are you thinking? What is your thinking on that?
Well, according to Dr. Greer, these alien abductions are all being set up by agencies like the CIA, and this stems back to 1956 when Eisenhower and Nelson Rockefeller established a secret agency called Majestic 12 to sort of handle these UFO situations. And they had two major responsibilities. One, to convince the public that UFOs weren't real, and the second was to reverse engineer these down interstellar craft, basically to give America the edge over the Soviet Union, because we were immersed in the Cold War at the time. And to convince the public UFOs were real, even though tens of thousands of people have actually seen them, if you were a civilian, they threatened to lock you up. They'd call you crazy. If you were a scientist interested in the subject, they'd pull their grant money. And so, even though UFOs were buzzing these army bases,
Wow.
if you claimed to have seen one, you were considered crazy.
So, do we? Is this information common knowledge to the upper level of government, or are the president and Congress pretty much in the dark as well?
That's the thing. They're pretty much in the dark because, Eisenhower wasn't in the dark. He was involved in it, and JFK knew about it as well. But after that, the presidents were pretty much kept in the dark because the military-industrial complex took over Majestic 12. And in fact, in Eisenhower's last speech, he warned against the military-industrial complex doing such a thing. And, when Clinton was president, the first thing he wanted to know about was Area 51. And Dr. Greer was involved in briefing the Clintons. And at the time, a member of Majestic 12 wanted to come forward and provide one of these zero free energy devices, 0 point energy, and this is what the crux of these books are about. We actually have the technology now, Larry, to have free, clean energy and abundance of it. It's called 0 point energy, and it's how these ships are run, and it's something that many scientists have come across over the years, from Hal Puthoff to Nikolai Tesla. Mm-hmm. And in every case, the big oil fossil fuel companies have shut them down.
Wow.
And so, but these devices are real.
Steve Alten is our guest. We need to take a little break, but we'll be right back with Steve. The book is called Undisclosed. It is a thriller novel, but he calls it faction. In other words, fiction based on factual information. UFOs and extraterrestrials. We'll be right back. Find out how to get the book from Steve after the break. This is The Source.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. And this Monday, more clouds than sun with a shower or thunderstorm around in the afternoon. The high 89 to 93, then partly cloudy Monday night, low 74 to 78. Partly sunny Tuesday with a thunderstorm in spots, mainly during the afternoon hours over the interior, high 90 to 94. For Wednesday, times of clouds and sun with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm in the afternoon, the high 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
What do I do now? After 911, don't worry, call Fakuri. Fakuri Medical and Chiropractic, treating auto injuries for over 32 years. Same-day appointments, immediate medical attention, all under one roof. Don't worry, call Fakuri. Go to bestinjurycare.com. All auto insurances are accepted. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to take your call. Car accident? Don't worry, call Fakuri. bestinjurycare.com.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Hi, my name is Erica Olstein. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. Do you have a gout-ridden toe or bowels that move too slow, creaky knees, or how about an asthmatic wheeze? Then acupuncture is sure to please. Come visit me, your primary care physician, Erica Olstein at A Better You Healthcare. Call me at 352-615-5566. That's 352-615-5566.
Calling occupants of interplanetary, most extraordinary craft.
Oh, man, remember the song?
Yes, I do.
Calling Occupants.
Of course.
This should be your theme song, Steve. Steve Alten is on the phone. His book is called Undisclosed. It's a thriller novel, but I don't know. I'm going to read it as if it's. I'm going to read it as if it's true. That's how I'm going to look at it. I haven't received the book, so I'll have to go get it. Where is it? On Amazon, Steve? How do we get the book?
It's available in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all stores. If you get it at Amazon, it's only available as a hardback. If you see it listed as a paperback, avoid it like the plague. They're actually stealing the book and printing it in part of their create space. We have actually had to go after them legally.
Oh, really? Wow.
Were you also involved with the documentary The Orchard by Sony?
Unacknowledged is the documentary is based upon the book, so I was involved in the book, but not the documentary. But the documentary is terrific, and the book is as well.
So what is your thought on why it's kept a secret? Why, if it's out there, is there so much effort being placed on us average people not knowing about it?
Well, originally, you have to realize that this was all happening, post-World War II. We were involved in the Cold War with the Soviet Union. There was paranoia, a sense of a paranoia amongst people, because they were in a race to develop the hydrogen bomb as well, which was much more lethal than the atomic bomb. And so, these extraterrestrial ships were obviously superior intelligence, superior technology, and we wanted it for ourselves. Now, why they still kept under has to do more with the technology that's involved with zero-point energy. Zero-point energy could basically eradicate hunger, disease, poverty in this world. It would reverse climate change. It would eliminate carbon dioxide producing energy sources like
that would be amazing. So when the ET that was kept alive for 3 years died, was he? See, I would think that if you could get to another planet and one of your astronauts died there, you would try to get the body and bring it back. Or what do you?
Well, there was a whole big attempt at communication through these different projects. To first of all, because there was a fear that they would think that we killed ET, and of course we were downing their ships. We downed over 13 of them, and so there was that's all covered in both Undisclosed and Unacknowledged.
Wow. Okay, it's a fascinating topic, and I love this topic. When I'm driving at night, especially the show that George Norrie does, when I listen to that show. Have you been on George Norrie's show by chance?
Several times, yes.
Yeah, I bet you have.
Wow.
Undisclosed is the book. It's called Undisclosed, and it's written by Steve Alten. And the website, he gave us all the booksellers. Your website is your name, right? SteveAlten.com?
Yes, ALTEN.com.
Steve, ALTEN.com. Okay. Steve, thank you. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back.
We are your friends.
Here is your 30-second news brief. 2 people were hurt while transporting a gas grill when a woman lit a cigarette and their SUV exploded. A woman crashed her car into the main entrance of the Marion Correctional Institute. The Marion County School Board voted to keep Francis Marion Military Academy open. A couple is accused of shocking their children and forcing